What's going on, y'all? Across the country, we're seeing a pattern emerge. When politicians can't win with voters, they try to redesign or straight up rig the system. And when leaders fail catastrophically, they don't try to fix it or anything like that. They attack the people who are calling it out. And in this age of social media, performance replaces competence. And after COVID and everything that we went through with that, every outbreak, no matter how minor, major, or unrelated, it immediately triggers the public distrust. We stopped trusting the public a long time ago. And today's show really isn't about, the Virginia courts or Karen Bass or AOC or the hantavirus or any of that. It's about what happens when the people who are running these institutions stop acting like they serve the public, which is what they are supposed to do, and start acting like the public is an obstacle that they have to overcome and manage. And the more obvious the failure becomes, the more aggressive the spin actually gets. So we have all of that and a whole lot more to get into right after this.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Welcome to the Mission Ready Men briefing right here on the SHR Media Network, where faith in God is the standard and masculinity is not toxic. Today is Tuesday, May 12th. Wow, in the year of our Lord 2026. And we do have a ton to get into, but first let's get down to some business. Please hit like and subscribe and share the show, share the channel, help us to get to break the big tech tyrants chokehold on us. They're trying to slow us down, but we will not be stopped. Every like, every share, every comment matters. And just so that you know, remember, this show also runs on my personal Mission Ready Men channel. Same briefing, same show, same content. SHR is the home base, but if you're not on if you haven't checked out the personal channel yet, please do so. We are at 972 subscribers. So we are very close to hitting that 1,000 threshold, and I would really appreciate it if you would help us get there. We're at almost 1,500 subscribers on the SHR side, so please like and subscribe and share that as well. We really want to make sure we get this message out to as many people as we possibly can. And also, just another quick programming note. This week is the last week we will be on at this time slot. Next week, Starting next Tuesday, a week from today, we will be on at 8 p.m. Central Time, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 Pacific. So please make a note of that so you don't miss an episode. All right, let's go ahead and get into this. The Democrats have, they've spent years telling us that democracy is under attack. And increasingly what we're seeing is that they don't mean democracy, they mean their power. And they keep saying our institutions are sacred, our democracy is under attack, is under threat. Then they lose one ruling in court, and they don't think about how they can refile the case or what they can do to possibly win it. They decide they're going to replace the judges. That's not an exaggeration. That's not a conspiracy theory. They have said this out loud. It's a frantic, desperate power grab, which is what it's their stock in trade. Democracy, according to them, democracy only works when they win. We are a constitutional republic. This country was founded as a constitutional representative republic. When they say democracy, what they mean is what we want. And what Virginia Democrats want is, or what they wanted, but didn't get, thankfully, is a congressional redistricting overhaul. And the Virginia Supreme Court shut that down because they violated their own state constitution when they did it. The Virginia Supreme Court ruled that the language in the referendum was intentionally misleading. They called them liars. And then the court ruled that they didn't follow the proper procedure. So the measure was on the ballot illegally. And that should have been the end of it. But of course, it's not. Instead, the progressive activists, the Marxists, the communists, they're pivoting to overhauling the court altogether. And one proposal, and I posted about this on social media. And I said in that post, if they do this, all bets should be off. All bets should be off, because this is will be, if they do this, a naked power grab. Because there's absolutely no basis for it. And it's obvious to anyone paying attention what their intention would be doing this. There's a publication called Down Ballot, and you're not going to be able to see it, so I'm not going to post it. But the title is "How Virginia Democrats Can Overturn the Redistricting Ruling, Retire the Supreme Court," and it goes into the fact that the Virginia Constitution actually allows for this. And what it will do is allow them to lower the mandatory retirement age for the Virginia Supreme Court justices. And that will force the older ones who exceed that retirement age, that they lower it to, It will force them off the bench. And then obviously replace them with friendlier judges who will do their bidding once they get installed on the court. Because then they'll just refile the case. It will get back up to the Supreme Court and they will rule in their favor. They lost the case and now they want different judges, different referees. It's not even, there isn't even a quiet part anymore. They are just full-throated saying, we are going to cheat. And we don't care that you notice, because it's all about them preserving their power. They don't bother talking about whether or not the ruling was unconstitutional. They don't talk about any legal maneuvering, none of that. None of that. It's about how they can rig the system to get what they want. Even the New York Times is acknowledging that this is a power grab. Even the New York Times. They're not contesting the rules in this case. They're contesting that the rules stop them from doing what they wanted to do. And so they're going to try and change them. But this is not just about Virginia maps. It's not just about that. It's about the leftist political mentality that has become increasingly obvious, and they're not even trying to hide it anymore. The Supreme, you see it all over the place. The Supreme Court rules a certain way, expand the court. The Senate rules are unfavorable, add states. The Electoral College, we know that has been an effort for a long time. Abolish the Electoral College. Lose a redistricting ruling, restructure the judiciary. It's the same pattern all over again. And notice they never want to fix anything unless it hinders their chances to win. That's when they see things as being broken, when it hinders their chances to win. And they always frame it as protecting democracy. But democracy without limits is mob rule. It's raw power. And as I said, they only see it working when they win. If they don't win, then it's broken. And something else I want to note here. When conservatives lose, when Republicans lose, we don't talk about packing the court. We don't talk about rewriting rules. We don't talk about anything like that. We talk about what we can do moving forward to change things within the system. Are there fringe elements on the right in the Republican Party that try to do it the wrong way? Yes, I acknowledge that. But those people get shouted down pretty quickly. Constitutional systems exist specifically so that temporary political majorities, they can't just rewrite the rules every time they lose, which is what the Democrats, the left, always does. That's the entire point. If every loss that they suffer requires changing the rules, then the rules never mattered to you in the first place. And I think everything that we've seen from the left, not even just in recent memory, just in general, shows that they don't want rules that apply to them. Rules for thee, but not for me. They don't want neutral institutions. They want compliant ones. They want compliant subjects. This is losing is no longer, as far as they're concerned, a part of politics. If they lose, it's illegitimate. And I know people will say, well, Trump said that the 2020 election was stolen. I agree. And I think there was ample evidence to support such a position. But on the left, every time they lose, it's an existential threat to our democracy. And when they have that mentality, every institutional safeguard, every institutional guardrail becomes optional, right? Courts become obstacles, elections become inconveniences, constitutional restraints become unfair barriers. Barack Obama famously said he lamented that he was constrained by the Constitution, which was the quiet part out loud. They hate the fact that the Constitution limits what they can do. And when you have that mindset, that radicalizes politics real quick. Imagine Republicans in Texas or Florida saying, we lost a court case. Let's rewrite the laws and retire the judges early and appoint new ones. Can you imagine the hue and cry from the left, from the American Pravda, if Texas Republicans, any Republicans, did that? It would be a full-blown media meltdown. Coverage would be 24/7. They would be yelling about authoritarianism. They kind of do that now already. Graphics talking about democracy's in danger. They probably have candlelight vigils on BS Now and CNN. But when Democrats actually make those moves, nothing. It's nuanced, procedural maneuvering on their part. I mean, that's a blatant double standard. And that has destroyed the public trust, completely obliterated it. People can tolerate disagreement. What intellectually honest people can't tolerate is selective principles. And here's something that makes this even messier than I remembered, because I don't remember when this happened. I don't know if I heard about it and it just fell out of my consciousness because nobody was really talking about it, or I just completely missed it altogether. But this entire redistricting fight started after a census from the government that they admitted they screwed up. The Census Bureau admitted that they screwed up. And I saw this clip, excuse me, I saw this clip on another YouTube channel, and was looking for the actual raw clip that I could use today, and I couldn't find it. But I got to give BZ of the Berserk Bobcat Saloon a shout out because he posted it last night. So thank you for that. But here it is. This is Guy Benson talking about this very issue. So let's take a look at it.
2020 and deprived red states of 6 to 10 seats because of a miscount that disproportionately hurt red states. They admitted that they got that wrong, and then we're stuck with the wrong count for an entire decade of math. That seems crazy to me. So I think some of this could actually get worse for Democrats in terms of the math. After 2030, if the Bureau does its job this time correctly and counts correctly, people are leaving. To our previous conversation, they're leaving these blue states and moving to red states, so the places fighting back are going to be losing representation because of their own failed governance.
There you go. They said that the Census Bureau said that some states were undercounted, some states were overcounted. Texas and Florida were among the states that were shortchanged. And here's the thing. This was in 2020. The exodus that Guy Benson was just talking about, the exodus from blue states to red states was already underway. So those states that were overcounted were losing representation, and the states that were undercounted were gaining, were losing population, and the ones that were undercounted were gaining population, which would have affected the apportionment of these congressional seats. And somehow, the Census Bureau just happened to screw that up in favor of the Democrats. How could that's a coincidence, right? That couldn't possibly have been done purposefully. Nah, I don't believe that for a second, because the Census Bureau is neutral and they are not beholden to anyone. And so it was just it just happened to shake out that way. Right. We spent years hearing the left blather on about how redistricting in the middle of the census, between the census, we heard them talk about incessantly how that type of redistricting was an existential threat to democracy. Meanwhile, the likely representation distortions tied to that Census Bureau screw up barely generated any national outrage at all. Like I said, this is stuff that I pay attention to. I don't remember hearing about it at all. It's really interesting how some institutional failures are 5-alarm conflagrations and others barely get noticed. And I mean, I don't watch a lot of mainstream American Pravda. I don't watch CNN on a regular basis. I don't watch Fox on a regular basis. I don't watch any of that on a regular basis. I read a lot of different publications. I will read CNN's website and I will read BS Now's website. But I get my news from a lot of different places. And that particular piece of information completely escaped me. I either completely forgot, which is highly unlikely, or I just never heard it. But that is the pattern that we keep seeing in our political discourse. The principles, the rules, all applied selectively. And institutional trust at that point gets applied selectively. And once people realize that the rules only apply in one direction, that trust, that legitimacy, that crisis gets a whole lot worse real fast. Because like I said, people can tolerate disagreement, people can tolerate debate, but what they won't tolerate is selective enforcement, selective morality. It's funny that the people whining about authoritarianism keep proposing more and more authoritarian solutions. It's weird, isn't it? The real issue here is not redistricting. The real issue is whether Americans still believe in the institutions that are supposed to restrain power rather than guaranteeing outcomes. Because that's what the left wants. The left wants a guaranteed outcome. That's why they use equity instead of equality. Kamala Harris's famous, I'm paraphrasing, but she basically said she wanted everyone to end up in the same place, regardless of effort, regardless of anything, as opposed to everyone starting off in the same place with the same opportunity, and then letting their work ethic, the choices they make determine the outcomes. The second your commitment to democracy, to use their term, because as we mentioned, this is not a democracy. But the second your commitment to that disappears after a loss, you were never defending democracy. You were defending control. All right, we're going to get into we're going to get back into the the LA mayoral race. I know it seems like I may be talking about that a lot, but there is a lot to get into with that. So we're going to get into that after the break. But first, I want to get a word in from our sponsor, and our sponsor for today's show is Carry Girl Gear. So, fellas, if you want to win the day, if you want to make sure that your wife or your girlfriend or your daughter, for that matter, has some really cool gear that talks about faith, freedom, and it's just really cool stuff, go ahead and check out carrygirl.com. I guarantee you will not be disappointed. There's all kinds of cool t-shirts, hats, drinkware, anything you can possibly imagine. And there's a new Grace in the Wild collection that you definitely want to check out for all of your outdoorsy wives and girlfriends. Some really cool designs there too. So go ahead and check that out. Visit carrygirl.com today. So Karen Bass, embattled communist mayor of LA, she just skipped out on another debate right after Spencer Pratt completely annihilated her on that debate stage. It was it was absolutely glorious to watch. And she decided that the next one she wasn't going to show up for. Now, excuse me. Now, the thing of that is, Spencer Pratt wasn't even scheduled to be there. He was asked to show up, and he had already had something scheduled for that day. So he was never scheduled. But because she got jolly stomped in that debate, she decided she wasn't going to show up. That is not how confident incumbents behave. Los Angeles and Karen Bass are becoming parodies of themselves. Crime is up. The fires were woefully mishandled. Homeless encampments everywhere. Zombies walking around, needles hanging out of their arms, completely drugged up, high on fentanyl, super meth, whatever they can get their hands on, I guess. And now the mayor is ducking debates with a reality TV star. That's how they describe him. I mean, she said she didn't even know who he was, even though in that same interview, a few seconds later, she said he's now famous again. But you really can't make this stuff up. And some will say that, well, Karen Bass can't be all that bad. I mean, Magic Johnson endorsed her. Everybody loves Magic Johnson, right? This is, I don't know if I'm going to play the whole thing, but this is Magic Johnson's video where he is endorsing. Well, it's his video where he's endorsing her, overlaid with the chaos and just filth that is LA. Check this out.
I'm supporting Mayor Bass. First of all, I go back with her probably 30 years. She sustained the first ever consecutive decrease in homelessness. Homicide rate is down. New housing units, 40,000. I mean, she's doing a tremendous job, Mayor Bass.
Is she really? Now, I haven't fact-checked any of what he said in this video, but it just seems like that is demonstrably false.
Has to have a second term, and I'm excited to say that.
All right. Thank you so much. I so
the mayor, he's support.
So you can see all of this depravity all over the streets of LA. And one of the things, and he's getting a lot of pushback from this because he doesn't live in LA. He lives in, I believe, Beverly Hills. So he doesn't, and he lives in a gated community. He doesn't see any of this. He probably has no idea. And if he does, he doesn't care. But regardless of any of that, I really couldn't care less about anything that Magic Johnson has to say. And growing up, I was a huge Magic Johnson fan. He could play some basketball. And after he retired, I admired the way he conducted his business. Not gonna lie. But then there's this. And you're gonna have to forgive me if I don't take advice from a guy whose son grew up to be this. Because he obviously, I don't even know what to say, because he's a man would not allow this, would not allow his son to do this. He would have seen all of that happening, and he would have stepped in and said, "No, son, you're not a girl." And even after all of his teaching, even after all of his trying to raise a man, he turned out like that. I seriously doubt most men would take pictures with their sons looking like that. So I have absolutely no respect for anything that Magic Johnson has to say. And he can't tell me anything. And I don't think, I really don't think he's resonating with many Black men at all. But getting back to the actual scandal, the scandal is not that Spencer Pratt is running for mayor. The scandal is that communist Castro acolyte Karen Bass was elected in LA to begin with. That is the true scandal. And so she withdrew from this debate after getting curb stomped. And she claims that it was a scheduling conflict, even though she signed paperwork committing to being at this thing. And now it's completely canceled because the other candidate, Nithya Rahman, she dropped out too, because her excuse is she was only going to be there to debate Bass, and if she's not going to be there, then so the event's canceled. Karen Bass, and to the same extent, Nithya Rahman, who, I mean, they're two peas in a pod. They're the one's just younger and Indian, but they're the same. They have the same ideology. Karen Bass oversaw this wildfire debacle. Homelessness is through the roof. Crime is through the roof. The city is in an epic decline. And she was overseas while these fires were raging and completely mishandled everything. Spencer Pratt taps into the anger that people feel, normal people feel, that the American Pravda and everyone else on the left, who they think that this anger is exaggerated. They think that it's overblown. But as I've said before, do they think it's bad enough yet? If they think it's bad enough, Spencer Pratt has a legitimate shot. I mean, he's trailing Bass now by, I think, something like 12 or 15 points, which at one point he was in single digits. And he's ahead of Rahman by close to double digits now. This, the pattern here is that establishment politicians, they constantly underestimate outsider candidates. Outsider candidates don't rise up because voters suddenly stop taking things seriously. Outsiders rise because the establishment fails. That's what happened with Trump in 2015, 2016. The political establishment, the political elites, they laughed him off right up until he won. The night of the election, I remember hearing commentators talking about how Trump had no chance, that it was a foregone conclusion that Hillary was going to win. And we saw how that worked out. A celebrity candidate is not the illness. The celebrity candidate is the symptom, and the disease is the institutional failure. There was a forum or a discussion on CNN. Yeah, exactly, CNN. And Lee McGowan, and you probably don't know her by name, but you'll recognize her when you see her. She was triggered by Lydia Moynihan, who is a conservative that they allow on CNN. And she's talking about why Lydia Moynihan is talking about why Spencer Pratt is gaining the traction that he is. And Lee McGowan, she cannot control herself. This was funny to watch. Check this out.
I mean, his odds are going up. We'll see. This is a really uphill battle for him, but I think Republicans should be taking copious notes, because you just got to embrace common sense and be normal.
And I said something very similar the last time we were together. He is rewriting the rule book for how some of these campaigns should be run.
And he is calling out the fact that leftists in LA seem to be fine with letting people, shoot up in front of schools. They're fine with dogs getting injected with fentanyl. They're doing nothing. And he's calling out some very obvious things that the vast majority of Americans can agree on. And he's going viral because of it. People want common sense.
Is this common sense for real? Like, as an LA voter, as someone that will vote for mayor in Los Angeles, I'm telling you, this is the opposite of common sense. This is so embarrassing. I am so exhausted.
Why aren't you embarrassed that you voted for this and your city is such a hellscape? That to me should be the embarrassment, but I digress.
Of being surrounded by this level of idiocy, this guy is not practical. His man's plan was to live off his reality fame. When that dwindled, he wanted to be an influencer. When that dwindled, he tried to make his wife a singer. It didn't work, so now he's going to be mayor of LA. He says he's going to end corruption. How? He says he's going to have no more homeless. How? He says he's going to have renters' rights. How? I'm so sick of having politicians come in here with zero experience telling us they're going to fix everything. Have we learned nothing?
Let me just play.
It's embarrassing.
She's lost it. And she looks like she could be Jennifer Welch's sister, that other harpy who has a podcast, and she's on this show sometimes. They could be sisters. They both look like they're demon possessed half the time. But to her point, what Spencer Pratt is talking about is common sense, and they're reacting. The voters who are embracing him are reacting to that. They're reacting to his common sense approach, but they're also reacting to the fact that the situation has given rise to someone like him. Garbage is piling up, businesses are leaving. The city of LA is a complete and total disaster. Taxes, homelessness. The government always seems to have money for consultants and studies and all this stuff, but they don't have any method. They don't have any money to clean up homelessness. They don't have any way to clean up of course they do. They just don't want to. They don't have the will to do it. It's of no consequence to them. But it's of consequence to him and people like him because he lost his home. People don't want to drive by homeless encampments and they want to feel safe when they walk down the street. But they can't in the state that LA is in right now. And Karen Bass she's not showing up to this debate because she knows she can't defend anything that she's done. Or the fact that she hasn't done anything. If your city is thriving, if you have a good track record, you welcome the scrutiny. You're like, all right, yeah, let's do this. But instead, she has these controlled appearances on friendly outlets. Her optics are completely stage managed, which just adds to the distrust. And it's not just her. I mean, it's the leftist politicians as a whole, and some on the right. I'm not gonna sit here and say it's exclusively a left-wing thing. There are some Republican politicians who fall into that same camp. It is what it is, and I call them out too. But when the voters start rolling the dice on these outsiders, and especially when the outsiders come correct, which is what Spencer Pratt has been doing. And I saw this clip of him in an interview. I'm not sure what the outlet is, but this clip right here highlights why he is having the success that he's having.
A lot of people said they weren't expecting such a great performance. Like, you were so well prepped, so well versed on a lot of the facts, on the actions you were going to take. How did you get ready for the debate? Did you do work to get after this?
Well, thankfully, people argue with me all day long in every single media hit that I've done for months because they don't want me to get into the machine. So every interview I do, unlike these politicians, it's opposition. It's arguing. When these, Mayor Bass or Councilwoman Rahman talk to the media, they can just lie, and then the media people go, "Oh, thank you, Mayor Bass, thank you, Councilman." If I say anything, I gotta have who was there, what they were wearing, what they have for breakfast. I have to have my information so fact-based and be bulletproof to beat this machine that I debate. All I do is debate people all day long.
You're held to a higher standard.
Exactly.
You're challenged all day.
And all I live in is facts and the truth. And so I called my lawyer who's representing me in the case against the city and the state and LADWP, one of the most famous lawyers in the world. I said, "Peter, how do you stay so calm when you're arguing with these liars?" And he said, "Spencer, I always have the truth." I was like, ooh, okay, I got that.
Good strategy.
Yeah, so.
He's got the truth. And when you're constantly being honed in these debates with these people, and you have to have command of the facts like he does, it's no wonder why he's doing as well as he's doing. And people like that McGowan chick and Jennifer Welch and all these people who they keep wondering why outsiders like him and Trump keep rising. But the question is not why. The question is, what did you do? What did the establishment do to make the voters this desperate to support somebody like them? That's the question. And until they answer that, this is going to keep happening. All right, let's move on, because I want to talk about I want to talk about another politician who is pretty much the exact opposite of Spencer Pratt, and I'm speaking of AOC. And AOC, she is objectively dumb. I know I've said that about her as a pejorative, as an insult, but it's obvious that she does not have the intellectual capacity to be successful in politics. She has the media savvy. She's mildly attractive. I know people hate hearing me say that, but there are worse, far worse looking women in Congress right now. She got asked a question. Well, let me just finish that thought. She's not bright, as evidenced by some of the clips I played in some of my other shows, when she talked about the revolution, and when she talked about, well, pretty much everything that spilled out of her face was just complete nonsense. She got asked a question in that same interview that she was doing with David Axelrod. And he asked her if she was going to run for president. And a normal politician will give a typical fake non-answer answer, especially if they do have the intention of running, or if that is in there, if they do see that as something in their future. AOC gave, what's the word I'm looking for? She gave the answer of a revolutionary. She gave the answer of an activist. This is part of her answer. It was a long, rambling diatribe, but this is the relevant part. So let's check this out.
And what's funny about that is that they assume that my ambition is positional. They assume that my ambition is a title or a seat. And my ambition is way bigger than that. My ambition is to change this country. And
now, I've talked about this before. If you love something, you want the best for it, obviously, but you don't want to change something that you love. And so we know that these leftists, the Democratic Socialists of America and all the rest of the lefty commies, they hate America. They see America as an illegitimate country. That's why she wants to change it.
presidents come and go. Senate, House seats, elected officials come and go. But single-payer health care is forever.
And there it is. Single payer healthcare. Oh, no, there's more.
A living wage is forever. Workers' rights are forever. Women's rights, all of that. And so anyways, the way, but to a finer point to your question is that when you aren't attached, right? When you haven't been like fantasizing about being this or that since the time you were 7 years old, it is tremendously liberating. And
well, there you go. Her ambition is way bigger than president. Wasn't a denial, but it also sounded like she was auditioning for something a lot bigger than that. She is trying to position herself to lead a movement. And I think part of that is that she, on some level, kind of understands that she doesn't have the intellectual capacity or prowess to run a country, to run a taco stand. And she's objectively not smart, but she's charismatic. And she says the right things to the right people. You can't say that your ambition is bigger than the presidency unless you're trying to build something bigger than America itself. And I think that's what her and people of her ilk, that's what they're trying to do. Politicians run for office, but activists talk about making permanent change. And that's what she's doing. I mentioned earlier how she tried to reframe the revolution. She gave 1776 the Howard Zinn treatment. Everything is a class struggle to these people. Everything becomes oppressor versus oppressed. And when you understand that these people are Marxist to their core, everything they say, all of the positions that they hold make a little bit more sense. They're still incoherent, but that offers some clarity and helps you understand exactly where some of this stuff comes from. People like her, they think that the founders were props in some sort of modern socialist narrative rather than flawed men who just wanted to be free, who were fighting for their liberty and the liberty of generations to come. They don't understand that because these people don't even really understand the concept of liberty when you think about it. They can't. Because everything that they do, everything that they propose does nothing but infringe on liberty. They want to control everything. And the people can't have liberty if these leftists control everything. They don't want you to be in control of your wealth or your health. They want to control every aspect of your life. They're not trying to conserve America. They're trying to reimagine America. That's what they love to do. You remember back in the day, back in the summer of love, they wanted to reimagine policing. They want to reimagine America. They want to reimagine America into a Marxist communist hellscape. They want to reimagine America so that it looks like LA and New York and Chicago, all over the country. That's what they want. But this is perhaps the real divide in American politics. It's not left versus right. On some level, it's good versus evil. But they think they're on the good, and they think we're evil. Because they're on the side that thinks that America is illegitimate and corrupted from birth. And we think that America, although flawed, is fundamentally good for us and a force for good in the world. And they don't think that. And if you can convince enough people that the country is evil from the start, tearing it down seems like the moral thing to do, right? And that's why every institution, everything gets targeted. History. They want to rewrite history. They want to get rid of borders. They want to do away with religion. And that's why one of the biggest reasons why they have absolutely no problem with Islam. And if you followed me for any length of time, you know how much of a problem I do have with Islam. They want to, like I mentioned before, reimagine police. Capitalism to them is evil. They want to get rid of the family structure. All of these are Marxist philosophies. These are Marxist ideas. They want to get rid of national identity altogether, which is one of the many reasons why they call us fascists, because we do believe that we have a national identity and we want to preserve it. You can't, she wants to build a revolutionary movement, but you can't do that unless people stop believing that the system in place deserves to survive. Whether AOC runs or not, she and the people of her ilk matter, because they represent the ideological direction of the left. They're younger, they're more media and social media savvy, far more radical, completely unapologetic. And that is who the left is going to be going forward. They package everything in this euphemistic language of equity and justice and transformation. Soft euphemisms that cover hard ideological goals that are antithetical to what most people believe in this country. Politicians, like she mentioned, politicians crave political office and the power that comes with that. Movements want cultural power. And in some ways, that's far more powerful. They want to take over the schools. They already have basically control of the media, corporate HR departments, bureaucracies, entertainment. They largely have the bulk of control of all of these things. So she's not, well, she doesn't seem to be terribly interested right now in the presidency because although it's useful, culture lasts longer. She said herself, presidents come and go. Congress comes and goes. She says single payer healthcare lasts forever. I don't think it does, but culture definitely lasts a lot longer than any politicians in office. This is no longer about who. This is no longer about elections. It is about who gets to define what America is. And these people, they have a very flawed, contrary definition of what America is. She's not. So when she answers that question, she's not talking like somebody who's chasing a campaign. She's not talking like somebody who actually does have ambitions for higher office. She genuinely believes that history is on her side. And that mindset has already captured a lot of the culture right now. She's on the side of a very dangerous political movement that stops trying to lead the country and starts trying to reinvent it. And that started, well, I won't say it started, but it kicked into high gear under Barack Obama when he said he wanted to fundamentally transform America. This is the natural progression of that mindset. So we'll see. Which way, modern America? Which way? All right, let's I want to talk about this hantavirus thing. I am not terribly concerned about it, and I don't think you should be either. I think they tried. I think when the ship was out at sea and we were getting these reports, I think they were trying to gin it up into something more than what it actually is. But I think now that we know what the pathogen is, and it's a known pathogen that we have protocols for. It's not like the novel coronavirus. I don't think there's a whole lot to worry about. You see these social media posts with these lunatics with their N95 masks, and it's just ridiculous. But this thing kicked off with a they think patient zero, or they're fairly confident that patient zero was a bird watcher who was watching birds at a dump, I believe in Argentina. Bird watching at a garbage dump triggered an international outbreak of this hantavirus. He was a retired ornithologist, and now we're dealing with this potential worldwide outbreak. I don't think it's going to reach that pitch. I think they've largely gotten it contained. But this is the world we live in now. where one random event in a remote location can trigger a worldwide, I don't want to say biohazard, because like I said, I don't think it's that deep, but it suddenly is a problem everybody has to be aware of. And going on a bird watching trip in a dump, and then triggering a worldwide biohazard sounds fake, honestly. But here we are, because modern civilization has shrunk so much. I mean, the world has gotten a lot smaller with the advent of all of this technology, and it's kind of held together with Bluetooth and vibes, unfortunately. And it's also unfortunate that several people have passed away as a result of this. Passengers from over 20 countries right now are being monitored. A lot of them are asymptomatic. A lot of them have been exposed but are asymptomatic, so that's good. Almost like people have immune systems. And I'm really interested to see how quickly, because right now there's no vaccine for it. I'm interested to see how quickly a hantavirus vaccine is developed for this. And if there is one that comes down the pike in the next couple of months, we know where this is going. Even though, like I said, we've had health officials say that this is nothing to panic over. It's under control. It's something that we have known about, and like I said, have protocols for. So we'll see. But one thing that we need to keep in mind, this is part and parcel of globalism, because we need to keep in mind how interconnected and vulnerable we become. Tiny events like this that would have flown under the radar even 15 years ago probably are now global in scale because of the panic porn and just the level of interconnectedness that we are dealing with. And that's not fear mongering. Like I said, I'm not worried at all really about the hantavirus, but that is the reality in 2026. The world got smaller and consequences got a whole lot bigger. So we'll just leave that there. I wanted to mention it, but it's not something that I think is something that we need to be terribly concerned about. I do have a couple of other things I wanted to get to before we go. A couple of amusing things. I don't know if you saw this. I've talked about this guy a lot in recent days, and he's a oh my goodness, this guy. Just go ahead and watch this, and then we will discuss, because this was one of the most entertaining things I've seen on social media in quite some time. What was that? What was that?
Black folk with PhDs. Black folk with doctorate degrees.
All right there, Malcolm Luther X. Just he is a parody. He is a parody. That's the guy who was who called the Tennessee State Trooper boy. He's the one who he represents Memphis, Tennessee, and he's upset because well, he's just upset. He's Malcolm Luther X. He's upset because reasons. But that dance, I don't know what that and there are a bunch of parodies of this where they take out his audio and they put in like the chicken dance and some other. It's hilarious. And he's going to be a meme for the rest of his life. And I absolutely love it. Something else I wanted to bring up on a cultural level. There's so much. There's so much I had planned here, or at least I had bookmarked so that we could talk about. But this is I don't even know how to describe this. And some people, if you're not really into movies or anything like that, this is probably not going to be your deal. But there's a movie coming out. I'm not sure what the title is, but it's about Helen of Troy and Achilles. And let's just take a look at this. These two, the people on this one, on this side, on the left. I think that's, I'm not sure who that is. But this is obviously Brad Pitt and Troy. And this is the woman who portrayed Helen of Troy in this movie. And this, on the right, is Ellen Page, who now goes by Elliot Page, but this is Ellen Page, who is playing Achilles in the Zack Snyder movie that's coming up. And this is Lupita Nyong'o, who is portraying Helen of Troy. There are really no words. There are no words. Because representation is fine, I guess, but there is no, and I'm the type of person when I'm watching something, if there is a race swap that is of little to no consequence, like people were all upset in one of the Batman movies where Jim Gordon was played by a black dude. I didn't care about that. Jim Gordon's race is not central to the story in any way. Helen of Troy has been described as one of the most beautiful women ever. There are some that describe her as blonde, some that describe her as dark-haired. She was Greek, and so there's a really good chance that if Helen of Troy existed, she would have been of darker complexion, like olive skin complexion and dark hair. Lupita Nyong'o is African. What? It makes absolutely no sense. And people seem to love this guy, Zack Snyder, and he directed some of the Superman movies and stuff like that, which were pretty good. But what is going on with Hollywood? Aside from the fact that they're lunatics, and some of them are probably demon possessed, but why do they think this is, why do they, it really makes absolutely no sense to me. It's bizarre. It's completely bizarre. So there's that. There's my pop culture reference for the next who knows how long. All right. One last thing I wanted to talk about. And I came across this Bible verse just today, and I really wanted to talk about it. Psalm 145:18, which says, "The Lord is near to all who come to him and to all who call on him in truth." And this resonates with me because of my illness, which we've talked about before. God is not distant. He's not hiding from you. He's not hiding behind rituals or performances. He's near to everyone who genuinely calls on him. I did a segment on a show where there was this woman who was a practicing witch and said, you know what, I'm going to give it a try. And she was transformed as a result of that. He's near to those who genuinely call on him. We're not perfect. You don't have to have some eloquent prayer or speech. It's just call on him in truth. Not in religious packaging or rituals, as I said, just truth. Honesty matters more than performance. If you genuinely are seeking him, you will find him. A broken prayer, sincerely whispered, reaches a lot faster than some polished speech filled with pride, filled with your own stuff. The world rewards image. God responds to truth. Sometimes the most powerful prayer a man or a woman can pray is, Lord, I need you. And according to this verse, when that prayer is real, he's there. So I don't know who needed to hear that today, but I hope you take it to heart. Let's see, do I have time for anything else? No, I think that's it. So that's going to do it for us today. We're not here to just fill airtime. We're here to equip Christian men and women and spread the gospel of Jesus Christ and carry the banner of faith, freedom, and hope into the next generation. And if any of what we said here today matters to you, please take a second to share it. Bring another guy into the fight. We need as many men as we can. And if you want to wear what you stand for, head over to missionreadymen.com, click Shop 7 Armors, and check out all of the great designs that we have over there about bold faith, true grit, and unapologetic patriotism. And while you're there, check out the SHR shop and check out all of the designs we have there for all of the guys' shows. There's some great designs. We have the SHR logo tee as well as the SHR mug. So be sure to head over there and check that out as well. And remember, when seconds count, the police are only minutes away, but the Lord is right there with you. So keep your prayers going up and your head on a swivel. God bless.